Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I will be covering what's the difference between Twilight and the Vampire Diaries. But before I start, I want to ask you guys a question. What will be my next video about? And I want to know in the comment section below. So, as you already know, most people do not like Twilight, and it's for good reason. So the main characters, Jacob Black, Bella Swan, and Edward Cullen, all hate and love one another. What I mean is that due to the fact that vampires and werewolves naturally hate each other, it kind of made sense why Edward and Jacob hated each other. What made it even worse was that they got a girl involved. And who would it be? Bella, obviously. So that's why it kind of added to the fuel into their rivalry. So, yeah. So, in the Vampire Diaries, it kind of makes sense why Stefan Salvatore, Damon Salvatore, and Elena Gilbert all had mixed feelings towards one another. It all started back in 1864 where um they had met Catherine Pierce. She was beautiful. She was fun to be around. She was all that, but little did they know, or at least Stefan know, that Catherine was a vampire. So for the last couple months or whatever, Catherine has been staying in a Salvatore house back in 1864, and I guess that give me a minute. I guess that they both loved her and they would do anything for her. So when they found out that all the vampire tombs in the show was going to get rounded up in 1864, they tried to save Catherine, but it backfired and blew up in their faces, and they wound up turned out to be a vampire. But it all crashing down when it turned out Catherine was alive the entire time. So 145 years later, that's when Stefan and Damon met Elena, who looks exactly like Catherine. And at first it didn't make sense because they were wondering, wait a minute, why is Catherine in Mystic Falls? Turned out it wasn't Catherine, it was Elena. So it kind of made sense in the Vampire Diaries because of what happened earlier, like back in 1864 or whatever. So that's one thing. That's the love triangle of both the movies and the TV show. So the next thing is the supernatural beings. So it's kind of strange. Um, when I first saw the 5 movies, it all they all talked about the wolves, the vampires, and the humans. And according to the movies, um, if you ever found out about the vampire world, you would either get killed or get turned yourself. So I guess Bella manipulated Edward into turning her, which was kind of stupid because if you love somebody, you wouldn't force them into turning you into a vampire. It was stupid. There was no point. I understand that you want to be with him forever. I can't lose you. I'm gonna get old or da 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 da. No. If he says I don't want to do it, you gotta respect the wishes, sis, bro. Don't do that. And then on top of that, you got your whole best friend loving you and shit, and you manipulated him too. When Edward broke up with your ass, you wanted to mess with Jacob's feelings. Like, that's not fair. How would you feel if someone did it to you? You wouldn't like it, right? So why bother doing it to other people? And what made it worse was that Bella had hella friends when she first moved into Forks. And instead of treating her friends with respect the way they showed her respect, she treated them as if they were nothing to her. She treated her father like crap. She treated her friends like as if she didn't even have friends. And then what made it worse was that what was the point? Like, if you did not like any of your friends, you could have just said something like, yo, I Loki never wanted friends, blah, blah, blah. You didn't have to, like, ignore them completely when you found out that your own boyfriend left you. Come on now. And then you still treated them like crap even after the fact that you guys get back together. Like, you barely see them. Like, come on now, that's just stupid. So that's for Twilight. And now get to the Vampire Diaries. So there are a lot of different supernatural beings. There's not only the vampires and the werewolves, but there are witches, there are warlocks, there are what else they are? There was witches, warlocks, um and then like there's like I think they're like hybrids and stuff, meaning that they're like vampires and werewolves. But that was only because Klaus from the TV show actually was the first supernatural being to become both werewolf and vampire, which kind of made sense because um when 1,000 years earlier from the TV series, it turned out his mom knocked up a werewolf. So in order to document his werewolf side, his mom was forced into cast a spell on him or whatever, and that's why he tried to use the blood of the doppelganger to like trigger the curse and whatnot. So, oh yeah, and there were doppelgangers too, meaning that you had like ancestors who look exactly like you. So that was, you know, that was weird, and that's like the supernatural part about both the movies and the TV show. So next on my list is the werewolves. I know I just talked about the supernatural beings, but here's the thing though. The only thing I liked about the movie from Twilight was that the werewolves, they were big, they were like huge, they run faster and you can turn freely. But in the Vampire Diaries, they the werewolves in that show were small. They were more like hound dogs than actual werewolves, and then they were only limited to turn on a full moon, what kind of made sense. But like, if you were gonna have a werewolf turn on a full moon, at least make it similar to the Twilight movies, because they could just run faster than a vampire, and then like they could have the same effects that happened in the show or whatnot. And it was, I don't know, it was just weird. So next on my list is the female character, the main characters, like the female main characters from both the movies and the show. So you know how like I mentioned earlier in the video where Bella was a sad loner girl? Well, it is true. If you've seen the movies, you would notice that Bella is like attached to Edward. She's like his shadow. She would do anything for him. She acting like she has no life, which probably is true. When I first saw the movies, I was like, okay, I love the movies. Um, it looked so nice. I was so jealous of Bella and the fact that she had two people falling head over heels over this girl. But when I saw the Vampire Diaries, it kind of made more sense. Like the character's history and what happened. It just, it was just, it was a lot better. Like the timeline and stuff. And what I mean by that is that Elena from the, oh, oh shit. Elena from the Vampire Diaries had a life. Yeah, it's kind of sucked when her parents died in a car crash. It was it was understandably upsetting or whatever, but the girl had gotten her life back after she met Stefan Salvatore, the 145 for no, the 100 something year old vampire who changed her life after they had met. At least she had a life. And Bella didn't even have a life. She was just dull and boring, and that she was so rude to everybody, not care about how they felt. And I like how she got mad when her own boyfriend left her. I feel like that should I was like that should like hit you in the face right there, cuz you need to like get a life, spend time with friends, and respect others. But she didn't even do that. She got all depressed and stuff, like when Edward left her to go to New York and stuff. I was like, that don't make sense. So that's the difference. And the storyline from both the movies and the TV show are woo. The Diaries, Vampire Diaries had more storylines. Like the more the I don't know how to say this, but like the more you get into it, the more plot twists had happened in the TV show. But when you go see the no, not the Vampire Diaries, the Twilight Saga, it was the same old, same old. Live in Forks, your boyfriend leaves you, he comes back, he asks you to marry him. After he left you, a vampire group of newborns try to kill you, and you have a baby by your own vampire boyfriend. That don't make sense at all. It was weird. So then lastly, it's the main characters from both the TV show and the movies. So we see in the movies, we see the same three characters throughout the entire 5 movies. Because actually it was supposed to be 4 movies, But since the books, like the source materials of the books and stuff, like the last book, I guess, was mainly huge. They decided to make it into two parts of the last movie, so it turned out to be five. You see the same three main characters in each movie, and it's kind of boring. But in the Vampire Diaries, we see new characters come and go. We see the big bad villains that came through the entire series, and it was a lot more interesting because all that was all caused by the main villain, Catherine Pierce. If she didn't trick the Michelson brothers into, uh, I'm not saying trick them, but like if the Michelson's brothers hadn't fell over heels for her, none of that would have probably happened, but it did. So that's one thing. Yeah, it was all caused by Catherine Pierce, so it was a lot better than what happened in the movie. So, well, that was the difference between Twilight and the Vampire Diaries. See you.